The difference between a good movie and a bad movie is execution and what motivations you have. The very moment you decide, I want to make a movie that makes money, and if we do it this way, it will make money, and if we do it this way, we won't make money, you've already lost. When you make a movie on artistic integrity, on a good story, on passion, you're bound not only to make a great movie or a great scripted TV show, but you're bound to make money at the same time. And when you look at Zack Snyder, everything that motivates Snyder is art, artistic integrity. I love his DC movies. I love 300 and I love Watchmen. Someone on Twitter was saying to Greg Silverman, a former a former CEO at WB, that, you know, Zack Snyder cost them a lot of money. He said, actually, apart from Sucker Punch, Zack made the studio a lot of money. And that's true. But I'm not here to talk about Zack Snyder today, but I'm giving you an example of bad and good motivations with good, bad, and mid movies. And ultimately, what's happened with WB and DC is once they kicked Snyder into touch, their motivations were, if we make it colourful, if we make it funny, if we make it about family, we're bound to make lots of money. And every time they've attempted this, they've got it wrong. And Peter Safron and Walter Hamada absolutely got the execution for their vision of Shazam wrong. Now, I like the first movie, but there's very little you can do with a sequel of that, as we saw. But they actually betrayed what they'd set up in the first movie. What they should have done from the beginning is broke the arrangement they had with The Rock. The Rock, WB had agreed with The Rock for years that he was going to play Black Adam. That should have been kicked into touch. Now, I like the Black Adam movie. It's not the Joker. It's not the Dark Knight. It doesn't break any ground in CBMs, and not all CBMs have to do that. But ultimately, The Rock is a pain up the jacksie. You know, he's done a recent interview saying he pees in bottles and nonsense like that. You wouldn't even get into my amateur dramatic society in my theatre, son, if you did that. Use the bloody bathroom. Anyway, so if you're setting up Shazam, aka Captain Marvel, first of all, you kick The Rock into touch, and you don't cast Zachary Levi as Shazam. But here's the thing. The only reason he got the gig is because he's mates with Peter Safron, the guy whose production company was involved with the DCEU when Hamada took over, and who is now the co-CEO of DC Studios. So it's interesting how Safron got involved and how Safron is still involved in DC, considering most of, if not all, his DCEU movies, bar Aquaman, didn't make a lot of money. But they rewarded him as co-CEO of DC Studios. Why did he earn the right to do this? I still think that element is very dodgy. But Captain Marvel, aka Shazam, aka Billy Batson, is great in a lot of the comics. It's a great idea. It's taking a little kid and putting him in an adult's body and giving him superpowers. It's giving a kid adult problems and say, it's time to grow up, kid. It's a hard world out there. And imagine this little kid in an adult body with adult problems having to take on a ruthless foe like Black Adam. If they stuck to the comics, this could have been a beautiful set of movies that would have made more than just under 400 million. There was an interesting aesthetic there. But as usual, the discussions were, how can we make money? We can't be dark anymore. We can't do what Snyder was doing. We have to lighten things up. We have to be funny. And this is how they messed the whole thing up. But if you have Black Adam from the beginning as Billy Batson's foe in a trilogy of movies, it's fantastic. They were telling us originally that was the plan, but clearly that was their plan, not The Rock's, because that whole nonsense about The Rock not wanting to be in the Shazam movies and wanting his own movie is through The Rock's hubris. Again, I like Black Adam. I kind of like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, but the guy is arrogant. The guy is a problem. He's a celebrity, right? He's untouchable in a way. What he says goes. But all of that was a mistake. As Zachary Levi said when he was trying to make excuses for the failure of Shazam! Fury of the Gods, we were faulted in every avenue. But ultimately, you faulted yourself from the very beginning. Not you, Zachary, because at the end of the day, you don't make the big decisions. But you should never have been cast as this character. From the moment they decided to go with the Tom Hanks big aesthetic, they were in trouble. Everyone was bragging that Shazam made a profit. Barely. The only reason he made a profit because it cost under 100 million to make. My idea of a great opening first Shazam movie is have a Lord of the Rings kind of narration at the beginning of it. They could tell us the backstory of Black Adam, not played by Dwayne Johnson. It would be somebody else. It would be a comic book accurate actor. And you see his history, and you see how he becomes Black Adam. I suppose in a way, kind of what they did in the Black Adam movie, but kind of more comic book accurate. And that's another problem as well. This version of Shazam was more kind of like the New 52 version. You've got the New 52. You've got Silver Age and Golden Age, right? Like, the New 52 isn't very popular amongst hardcore DC fans, but not everything is bad about the New 52. There were some interesting things in it, but mostly people weren't happy. And, when you look at, the Golden Age has got its fans, the Silver Age has got its fans. So that's another problem with what they decided to do with Shazam. But I think Billy Batson is a very compelling character. Because as I say, if you write it like they did in the original comics, it's a kid with adult problems. He's foisted into this world. In a way, it's a dark, compelling world full of magic. And he has to fight this ruthless, robust, powerful figure in Black Adam. And at first, he's getting messed up. He's getting the crap kicked out of him. The problem with the Shazam movie, the first and the second one, too light, too funny, and they were going on that trend at the time, as I say, of family, boring, put the kettle on. As I say, I kind of liked the first movie, but I could have lived without it if they were more faithful with who Captain Marvel, aka Shazam, is. And that's kind of the problem. But then if I just interrupt what I'm saying here about this and look at what they're doing right now, they're making a Blue Beetle animated series. So the guy who played Blue Beetle in that movie that flopped, by the way, will still be Blue Beetle in the animated series. I'm kind of wondering who's asked for this. But then I go back to, and this is another problem with the DCU and Saffron. Like the girl who played Mary Marvel, right, was fantastic. Everybody loved her. Where is she? Where is her animated series? They always talk about empowering women and girls. Well, where is it? Where's Mary Marvel? You could have used this actress. You could have used this version, right? Why isn't she involved? Why? But you've decided to use a character and an actor from a flop movie in animated form to introduce him into the DCU. More rogue, suspect decisions from Peter Safran. I don't think that's a Gunn decision, by the way. And I think that Safran has more power than Gunn at DC Studios, because as I've always said, Gunn is the creative lead. He isn't the bureaucrat. And the bureaucrats have always got more power. I think as DC fans, we all lost out big on Shazam because it had a huge potential. And that potential wasn't realized. As I said on the top of the show, how you execute a film, a story, a scripted TV series is very important. How you decide to tell a story is very important. And from the moment they decided, let's make it light, let's make it fluffy, let's make it fun, let's make it about family. And again, they're obsessed with this. This was their motivations with Justice League. And this was their motivations with Shazam and everything they were doing going forward. They wanted to be very MCU, very light, very fluffy, very funny. And this has been a mistake they keep on repeating, and they keep on making flop off the flop. So why keep on doing it? And it's with this Superman film and with the DCU. They're still doing it. They're still obsessed with colourful movies. Will that work for Superman?